Alrighty, so I got another video here, and it's once again an Ethy video. I thought it was somebody else, but it is in fact Ethy. He just changed his name to Ethan Bishop. I guess that's his real name. The video is called "The Number One Argument Against Antinatalism." So yeah, I guess we can check it out. By the way, I got some like really weird fucking comments on my last video, so I don't know if people hated it or not. I have no idea. It's like, feel free to actually just tell me why you don't like my video. I'm not going to be that offended by it. I don't understand nonsensical comments or like weird square boxes. So just feel free, like leave a dislike if you don't want to do it, or just fucking tell me where I fucked up at. I don't know. I thought the video was fine. But anyways, let's just get into it. Let's see what the number one argument against antinatalism is.
What's up guys, it is Ethy, and in this video I'm going to be giving the best argument against antinatalism.
I'm going to be speeding this up a hair.
What really is the difference between continuing on your life and continuing life through creating a child? This may sound like, oh yeah, that's obviously like a false equivalence, but when you really think about it, what is the difference, okay?
Gee, what is the difference? I don't know. I mean, unless people are, fungus or something, and we reproduce by spores, there's a pretty big fucking difference. Me continuing my existence is not the same as me starting another one. Or helping to start another one, I guess. Kind of a big difference.
Day you have a choice to continue your life. It's not like, oh, these are the cards you're dealt and then you have to continue your life. No, continuing your life is a choice, just like how procreating is a choice. Procreating, you're deciding to create life, and when you're existing, you're choosing to create life. Every time you wake,
and when I'm existing, I'm choosing to create life. How the fuck does that work? And by the way, you really don't necessarily have a choice on whether or not you continue your life. I think I've mentioned this in other videos, but your life driver is a pretty brutal tyrant. That's why you'll see people living in like squalid conditions and trying to eke out a living a hand-to-mouth existence. It's because the choices you're going to make in life are there to affirm your existence, really. Only until you reach a point where your existence can't be affirmed any further, or it's too painful for you to continue on, whether that's real or perceived, you will choose not to continue to live. Really that fucking simple. It's not a choice. Like, you have a choice of a bunch of things you can do right now, but you have a desire to, say, listen to this YouTube video. So that's what you're actually doing. You have the choice to shut this off right now and go do something else, but you're not, because you want to listen to this video. So I think it was Spinoza who said, will and understanding is the same thing. And depending on what you understand, that's what you're going to want to do. Like when you were a child, say you believed in Santa Claus. What was your understanding at that point? Your understanding was that there's a fat, magical elf that rides around with reindeer delivering presents on Christmas Eve. He has like fucking 12 hours to do it or some shit, or 24, I guess, for the whole world. To deliver presents to every boy and girl. So what do? You get on your best behavior at school and around your parents. Of course, you wrote out your little Christmas list, whatever. And you probably left out milk and cookies for them. Well, now as you got older and you understood that, that kind of shit just doesn't exist, and that, it's a real fucking, I guess, impossibility for that to happen. It's just not going to happen because you understand how things work around here a lot better. What do you do on Christmas Eve now? You certainly don't fucking make out a list of, maybe you make out a list of what you want to maybe somebody in your family if you do that. I don't. Or just tell them. But you don't write like a petition to some guy at the mall. And you don't go around fucking, right before you go to bed, like making sure you leave out a glass of milk and cookies right next to your Christmas tree. Because you understand that there's no fucking magical elf coming along with a bunch of presents for you. So you're not going to want to desire to do those fucking actions. Unless you just have like some sort of nostalgic hang-up, you're probably not going to want to do it. Anyways.
Wake up in the day, so to speak, that is a new birth, okay? That is like a birth of a new life, okay?
No, not really. It's the continuation of my life. And it's not something figurative. It's literal. I straight up just get up out of bed. It's not so to speak. I get up out of bed. Really not by my choice either.
It's a new beginning, right? And that's exactly what having a child is. And everything that antinatalists claim to want to prevent,
it's a new beginning for that child. Not you. I guess it's the start of a new chapter in your life. You could put it that way, if you decide to have a kid for some fucking reason. But it's a new beginning, or it's just a straight up the beginning for that kid. It's not new, really. It's new. Everything is new to it.
are propagating, or at least what most antinatalists are claiming to want to prevent. I'm not saying that this is an argument against all antinatalist positions, but I don't think that the title is all too much of a stretch, because virtually every antinatalist position just gets trashed by this argument. But
the argument of what? The fact that I woke up this morning means that I'm somehow not an antinatalist and that I'm somehow birthing a bunch of children out there? How the fuck does this work?
Yeah, everything really that the average antinatalist is wanting to prevent, they are propagating by existing. So there are two counter arguments to this.
What, suffering? I guess. I suppose you can go through your life without stepping on too many toes. But again, you're a life machine designed to do life things, so you're gonna do it basically until something outside of yourself usually takes over and you decide, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Pretty much how it works. We're pretty mechanical beings.
The counter argument to this would be, the killing of yourself, that will make people around you suffer, and suffering is bad, so we should just not kill ourselves. Well, actually, I think that you probably, if you kill yourself right now, as opposed to not killing yourself, you'd actually be preventing more suffering, okay? Think about all the suffering you'll cause, in the span of your life, okay? If you kill yourself right now, all of the suffering you'd cause later in life would be prevented because you'd obviously be dead.
Okay, so the counter to antinatalism is pro-mortalism. Oh, gotcha. Okay. I think the two kind of go hand in hand. And it's really not an argument against antinatalism as it is, against the antinatalists. Because I didn't ask to have this fucking tyrant of a, life driver in my life. I didn't ask for it. It's just something I do. Even in my most depressed moments, I still found a way to, brush my teeth and fucking shower and eat and, eliminate waste from my body. I still do it. Like, it's just automatic. Just like I'm breathing right now. Just like, I'm maintaining my posture right now and keeping myself from falling on the ground. I'm, my skin sensors, whatever, my temperature sensors are tell me the ambient temperature of the room and deciding whether or not I should put a coat on or if I should dress lighter. That kind of shit. Those kind of things you really don't have much control over. Like, all the essential functions in your life you really don't have control over. Like my digestion, all that shit. Breathing, heartbeat, among a bunch of other things. Like, you really don't have a choice over it. And when you recognize that, it kind of baffles me when you understand that people suffer and everybody suffers guaranteed. Why the fuck would pro-mortalism solve this problem? When you could just solve the problem right fucking at the beginning by not starting it. I don't get it. I really don't.
That this seems conducive to negative utilitarianism, or just not wanting that much suffering. Because really,
okay, who out there wants a lot of suffering? How many masochists are there truly out there in the world? And even then, they have to suffer usually in a specific way in order to get any sort of pleasure out of that suffering. I imagine somebody who's into cock and ball torture is probably not into fucking, getting ran over by a bus. Or something to that effect. Just be my guess. I'm not a masochist, but it just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Who out there is just advocating for more suffering and just desperate for it? You can find it about any turn in your life. Don't worry, it'll find you.
If you want to look at what some of these antinatalists are doing, especially if you are like a carnist antinatalist and you're supporting the animal holocaust, or maybe you're buying a bunch of plastic, or just buying a bunch of clothes, as the fashion industry is very destructive to the environment. If you kill yourself, there's not going to be so much suffering caused by that if you just continued living, at least a lot of these motherfuckers' lifestyles, no, you would cause more suffering by continuing living, okay? And if you are...
Who are the lot of... First off, okay, apparently you don't know of anybody out there in your life who's committed suicide, or know of anybody who's dealt with a family member who's committed suicide. That stuff carries with them for quite a while, probably the rest of their lives. I used to help an older woman whose son committed suicide back in the 80s, and she was still pretty heartbroken over it. She died in 2015, I think, somewhere in there. She was in a nursing home at that point, but yeah, she was still pretty beat up over it. She lost everybody in her life too. Her son, her daughter, and her husband. She was totally alone in this world. Felt pretty bad for her, actually. But yeah, that kind of stuff sticks with you for a while. But I imagine most antinatalists, at least I don't live like a gluttonous, ridiculous, ostentatious lifestyle where I'm out there buying all the plastic I fucking can and just shoveling down fucking baby back ribs and, tacos, filled with meat all the fucking time. I don't do that. I understand that my existence will still continue to cause suffering out there in the world, but the cycle stops with me. So yeah, I can mitigate that though. I mean, you're making a case more for us than against us at this point. When you understand that it's a guaranteed harm to come into existence, and you're guaranteed to cause harm once you come into existence. You're making our case for us. Why would I go against antinatalism and when you gave me the greatest argument for it? Should be called the number one argument for antinatalism. You don't have to start the process that leads to somebody having to eventually commit suicide because they realize their life costs something. Like, Jesus.
Like, actually serious about negative utilitarianism, basically meaning, like, you're not concerned with the maximization of well-being, like, I guess positive utilitarianism, like you could say, you're concerned with...
I would consider that, reducing my suffering down by quite a bit to, like, none at all would maximize my fucking well-being. I can point to examples just in my own personal life, like when I broke 4 fingers at once, or whenever I fucking had 4 kidney stones, or when I just had the 1 kidney stone like 10 years ago. Every other aspect of my well-being was taken care of, but those things. And let me tell you, they let me know that it was a problem. Even though everything else in my life is going fine, all I could think about was alleviating that pain. Right now I'm doing fine because I'm not suffering. I'm not suffering any hunger pains. I'm not thirsty. I'm not horny, or I'm not looking for companionship in any way, whether it be just, platonic or otherwise. Like, I'm doing fine. I'm not feeling this sense of deprivation of any sort at the moment. But that clock is ticking every second I go on. I'm going to eventually get thirsty. I'm going to eventually need to relieve waste. I'm eventually going to need to eat again. I'll eventually go out and socialize once again. Blah, blah, blah. So, I guess maybe they're like two sides of the same coin. I don't know much about either, really, but,
With the maximum reduction of suffering, or you want no suffering at all, would that basically be the end goal of negative utilitarian, utopia, right? Then
there's no such a place like that on Earth. Yeah, utopia is a perfect word for that.
You should really be advocating not only people not have children so that they can die out, but you should also be advocating them kill themselves so then they die out sooner. Okay, like even if you could say like, oh yeah, if ever.
Okay, here's the deal. I only promote antinatalism because, well, it's really easy to sell the upside, life-affirming stuff about it. You could just use child-free reasoning if you have to. Suicide, on the other hand, yeah, that's a little heavy for most people, and I can't really sell the upside to it. I guess Vempt and the Church of Euthanasia have tried, saying that, oh, you're saving the environment if you just, commit suicide, whatever. But I don't give a fuck about the environment. Really. If I'm being honest, I really don't care. Like I've said before, it's like trying to preserve an active war zone. I'm not interested in it. So I guess it's more of an optics thing. Yeah, I guess I should be pro-mortalist too while I'm at it. I guess I can be both, an anti-natalist and a pro-mortalist. There you go. I guess most people would only agree with me on the anti-natalism bit, because most people are not in a position to where they want to kill themselves. I'm one of those people. I understand that my mere existence causes suffering to other things around me, but at the same time, like I said, I'm being whipped to continue my existence. Being whipped by pain to pursue pleasure. As in, I keep going downhill and I'm just finding things to try to, not go down too quickly. Like food, water, shelter, all that crap. But I guess it's more of an optics thing. Maybe it's not 100% ethical on my part, because it's a lot easier to sell anti-natalism to people than it is pro-mortalism packaged with it. It's like, hey, you shouldn't have kids. All right, yeah, cool. I can go on all these vacations and, go binge drinking with my buds on the weekend. I don't have to deal with a bunch of, kids I got to take care of that smell bad and are expensive and take up a lot of my time. And I'd be like, well, actually, on top of that, you should totally kill yourself. They're probably going to give me the finger and walk off. So, yeah, I can't prevent the fact that they were born. They're already here, just like I am. But I can prevent future generations from being born, hopefully, by making the case for why you shouldn't have kids. Simple as it gets.
Everyone just kills themselves or just starts killing themselves, that might produce more suffering. Like, I don't think that's true, at least with the application of what people are doing today. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand, like, like I said, and I'm going to talk about more, like, how much suffering you really propagate. 1 week of you, for example, supporting the animal holocaust versus you killing yourself, that 1 week probably caused more suffering than, like, all of the suffering caused by you killing yourself, okay? Period.
I mean, I guess it depends on how much meat you eat. I haven't eaten meat in a while, really. I only really eat meat when I go visit my friends or family. Because it's offered to me, and it's already there. I'm just going to eat it. That's about it. I think I have 2 packages of frozen hamburger in my freezer that have been there for fucking ever. That I got as a gift from somebody. They just said, hey, do you want it? I'm like, sure, yeah. And I got like a half a stick of butter. And I guess I got some free eggs that I got from somebody who raises chickens. So, and ducks too. So I got duck and chicken eggs. That's the extent of my of animal products I've had like in a long time. Like, that's it. I pretty much cut meat out of my diet as far as when it comes to me eating lunch or eating at home or whatever. Like lunch and supper and breakfast. I don't eat meat until maybe the weekends of when I go visit my friends or family. 'Cause my friends like to cook and my family likes to cook, so I just eat what's in front of me.
Okay, so you should be advocating that people kill themselves. So not only will they not propagate suffering and the stuff that you don't want by procreating, but they'll also be preventing the things you don't want by killing themselves, okay? So, yeah, it's really...
I can't force people to kill themselves. It is really hard to make a case for someone to kill themselves. There's got to be a really fucking good reason for that to happen to them. Their life has got to be at such a low point, and I feel like it's really not a choice for me to make in that sense. I'm not going to go around doing it. It'd be like trying to convince a gas-powered car to start switching to diesel. It's not going to fucking work, really. You might get a few really morose, depressed people on board with this, but it's probably not going to happen for the vast majority of people. I guess you would kind of kill off antinatalism, or the movement as it stands now, but it's going to come back, though. I don't think pro-mortalism is a hill you want to die on as the fucking final linchpin in defeating antinatalism, the fucking artillery shell that's going to breach the fortress. I don't think I would pin my hopes on pro-mortalism. That's all I'm saying. Because it's not going to work.
Imperative that you do that if you actually, are a negative utilitarian. Then again, I'm not a negative utilitarian. I'm not even an antinatalist, okay? I think that well-being and...
I probably am a negative utilitarian, but I just, I've been busy as fuck, and I'm not like a philosophy student, so I don't know all the fucking things. I'll be upfront. I know a decent amount of philosophy, but I don't know all of it. I'm one man. I work a full-time job and then some. I maintain my household, blah, blah, blah. I only get so much time during the day to study this shit, and it's very limited. So, yeah.
Is desirable because the fulfillment of your values is desirable.
Oh shit, here we go.
Well, just that fits the linguistic construction of what, desirability is. You have no choice in whether or not you desire that which is desirable, so that is what we should be striving towards. So I am in no way, advocating for suicide or advocating for suicide.
Okay, first off, why would you make that stupid argument then? If you understand that living beings desire things, and the highest desire of all is to continue their life, why would you make such a stupid ass fucking move as to say that we should fucking promote suicide? Why would you do that? You understand fully that we desire certain things, And chief among those, I would hope you would know, is the continuation of our individual existence. Like, what the fuck? And yet you totally did just advocating for suicide. Don't, just be upfront. At least with people like Angry Vegan Cyclist or someone like that, they'll tell you to kill yourself and fucking mean it. Like, I can kind of respect the ballsiness on that. Like, the full, hey, if you hate life so much, just kill yourself. I can kind of respect that more than just dancing around it. Just be upfront and say that you were totally advocating for us to advocate for suicide. Because you did. Just admit it. It's not going to hurt my feelings.
And the second kind of counter argument that I could think of to, this argument would basically be, yeah, we have these preferences, yeah, we have these desires that might go unfulfilled, but we have these desires, okay? We can't, these were the cards we were dealt, like I said. But again, I hate to repeat myself, but I think it's important to repeat, you can kill yourself. It's very easy to kill yourself, matter of fact. And I'm not advocating you kill yourself. I think that, killing yourself in the vast majority of times is immoral and should be illegal.
Yeah, and it's incredibly easy to pop open the cap on your fucking bleach container and drink it. Super easy. You got some lye laying around, fucking douse that. Make yourself a nice smoothie with that. I mean, you absolutely have the choice to go and do these things, but your will, your understanding of how you are going to continue your life goes directly against that kind of action. So you're not going to do it. Again, you would have to face some serious circumstances, whether they are real or perceived, in order for you to make this sort of leap over to suicide. I guess if you were like extremely pessimistic and had no hope, kind of like Mainlander, he truly did see death as a redemption. From what I've read of him, there's not very much of him out there, but just understanding that, maybe that can cause you to kill yourself. But I don't know. Most people will never get to that level of understanding, and I probably won't either until I get to I get some sort of severe terminal illness or something that causes me a lot of pain. It'd probably be the time I consider it. Yeah, I'll be upfront. Yeah, that would totally be the time for me to consider it. But as it stands right now, where I'm fairly young and actually probably in the best shape of my life, no, I'm not gonna fucking kill myself. Just the way it is.
But I guess that's a little bit of a discussion for another video. If you want me to make that video, sure, I'll happily do that. I did talk about that in a debate I did, which you can find on my channel. But nonetheless, yes, you have a choice to continue your life, just like how you have a choice to procreate. Okay, both of them are really just as much of a choice. Okay, it's not
really. Again, you really don't have choices here. It's what you act upon what you understand. If you understand that life, that you probably fed to you through culture and media and all that sort of stuff, that life is worth propagating, you're going to act upon that and continue the cycle. If you understand the opposite, you're not going to do that. You're going to take every step you can to, not do that. You may still fuck up, and in fact, there's couples that probably want a child and can't have one. And there's people who don't want kids at all remotely who have them. But still, you can sometimes do things without, and you'll get the undesired outcome. So it's best to play it safe, depending on what you want. But again, what you understand, you're going to want to do. And if you have a piss poor understanding, you're going to want to do piss poor things. Like creating more life to have to toil, suffer, and die on this miserable planet. So you really don't have a choice. You have a choice. I guess you have a choice of multiple things, but you're only going to will to do one. Schopenhauer pointed this out in his essay on the freedom of the will. It's a great little read. Oh, kind of little, but it did win him a prize back in the day, so I thought it was really good. I got the softback copy of it. I'm probably going to read it again at some point. I think I've read it through twice. But anyways.
Not like, oh yeah, I have to continue living. No, you don't. And that was, I guess, it kind of goes with...
Yeah, and life itself will tell you that you don't have to continue living all on its own. No action required really on your part. Or you make some sort of decision that you don't know, and it's kind of like a Rube Goldberg machine. It comes back and fucking kills you or something. I don't know. You absolutely don't have to continue to live, but the machine that you are wants to continue to do that. It's what it does. It'd be like asking a submarine not to fucking go, deep sea diving, or an airplane not to fly, or a car not to drive. They do these things because they're made to do that. And we are made to survive, really, no matter what the cost is. It's really hard to break people out of that. Even antinatalists, like myself. I know about it, but like I said, the part of me that's talking to you and relaying this information to you is not the part of me that really controls my existence, necessarily. If you understand what I'm saying. I don't really have control over a lot of my functions. Anyways.
With the second counter argument I'm talking about, but you could even think of this like a third argument. You don't have to cause suffering, so you shouldn't have a child. Well, you don't have to cause suffering by continuing your life, or overall suffering by continuing your life, most likely, really. I'm just talking about the average person. I'm not saying this is entailed like I talk about, like, the suffering really isn't entailed with your life, and I think that's an argument for existence, and this is, partly why I think you should exist, is because you're not necessarily...
There's no should exist, you just do exist. Okay? That's really what it's about. You just do. And if you understand antinatalism well enough, you don't procreate. And if you don't, you do procreate. Generally. So, yeah. There you go.
Really going to cause overall suffering. What would be immoral about
Yeah, I guess some guy in Kazakhstan is not going to directly cause me suffering or harm. Yeah, I understand that. But, again, why not just stop the process before it starts? Really.
Having a child, if it is conducive to fulfilling, values or collectively. I saw a picture...
Hold up, let me go back. I think I talked over a little too much.
Having a child, if it is conducive to fulfilling...
Fuck, I didn't go back far enough. Hold up. Let me try this again.
And this is, partly why I think you should exist, is because you're not necessarily going to cause overall suffering. What would be immoral about having a child if it is conducive to fulfilling, values or collectively? I saw a picture...
Okay, what about having a child in the Third Reich during World War II? Where the mothers or women were basically told, like, hey, you're kind of broodmares for us, the state. We need more soldiers on the Eastern Front. Get to it. Get busy. I think there'd be a good example for that. Like, just because society's saying it's cool doesn't necessarily make it cool. Alright? If you get what I'm saying? There's a lot of shitty societies out there, and there's a lot of shitty things people valued and did. So, that would not be the compass I go off of. I'm looking to reduce overall suffering. And me not procreating will probably save generations of suffering right then and there. Whether or not I kill myself. Just full stop.
On Google Images when I was, looking up things about antinatalism, and it was like a snake, and it was like, showing, oh yeah, it's like a snake eating itself. It's like, oh yeah, the perpetual, cycle of suffering, right? And that's exactly what you're doing when you're existing, okay?
Yeah, I guess it's just me doing that cycle, because life is kind of like a self-eating machine, a self-fighting machine. It constantly creates more creatures to fight itself with. I think Minden put it best that it's gladiator wars. You just make the best gladiator, and then, you make a newer, better, more improved gladiator to beat the badass gladiator you just created. It's just, life just fights and consumes itself. Really, that's what it is about. You could break the cycle by just not having kids. Simple enough. And then we could talk about really disrupting that cycle later on down the line. But I don't think this is the time necessarily. But, I could be wrong. Anyways. But yeah, I think it's called the Ouroboros. It's an old as fuck symbol. People back in the day understood this. This is nothing new. And in fact, some philosophers, like in, back in those times, the ancient era, I guess, like with the Greeks. Well, I guess it'd be the classical era, but still whatever. Who was it? Was it Sophocles? Once you have seen the light, you should turn back swiftly from whence you came, or something to that effect. And there's another one who, I think his books were burned. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and yeah, it really sucks I can't, but I would have liked to read them. This is nothing new we're talking about here. Like, if people back in the day who could barely figure out how to, have public toilets or anything, can figure out that life is a self-eating, self-warring machine. I don't know what the fuck is taking us so long. I think we just got really good at distracting ourselves at this point, but anyways.
Like I said earlier, when you're having a child, really, it's just another version of you. It's another version of you that you'll see tomorrow, that you'll see the next day, you'll see 5 years from now, however long you live, okay?
I would be completely insulted if someone came up to me and said, "You are just a little miniature version of your mother, or just a little miniature version of your father." And I imagine you would feel the same fucking way. Especially, I think you were like, I think he said he was Mormon or something once. I don't think he is now. Like, would you like to be considered a Mormon still because your parents are? Would you like to be considered interested in what your parents are interested in, or have the same likes and preferences? I imagine your parents aren't on YouTube talking about this kind of stuff. You're your own person. I'm my own person. I'm the product of two people, and the environment and conditions I was raised in sort of molded and shaped me, along with the information I've taken in, into the person I am now, which is completely different from my parents. My parents' lives and my life is like, we only really intersect at the point where they are my parents, really, at this point in my life, because I'm 30. So, it's about it. I guess maybe I have similar mannerisms or something, maybe. I have no fucking idea. But as far as the way I go about living my life, we couldn't be more different from each other. Especially in some of the interests I have versus what they are interested in. I'm not interested in, like crocheting or something like my mom is. I could give a fuck less. And I would really hate it if somebody came up to me and said, "You're just a mini-me of your mother." Yeah, no. You're a totally different person.
So what really is the difference? What is the meaningful difference that justifies, it being immoral to procreate, but therefore it's, moral and sometimes even imperative, depending on which antinatalist you're talking about, to continue your life?
I'm not arguing on the morality of it. I'm arguing on the fact that it's going to be really fucking hard to convince people to kill themselves. Real fucking hard. That's where I'm at. It's probably the biggest hurdle Ethylism has too. The whole annihilating the planet thing. But I could sell child free to people pretty easily. It's not that hard. You just got to point out that you have all this free extra time to yourself. You don't have to worry about daycare expenses. You don't have to worry about what school they're going to go to. You don't have to worry about their welfare all the time. You don't have to worry about this, that, and the other thing when it comes to having kids. And they ain't cheap. So I can definitely sell the upside to that. I can't figure out a way to make, suicide palatable to most people. Antinatalism, sure. Or I guess antinatalism light in the case of child free. And I don't even know. Fuck, I'm not even going to. No, just scratch that. I can sell child free. Let's just leave it there. But I can't sell suicide. I don't know how you can do that. I don't know what would be the upshot for that person unless they were in such a bad state that would be preferable to them continuing their life. And in which case, they wouldn't need me around to sell it to them.
It sounds like this conflicts with just the vast majority of antinatalist views, okay? And
I don't know how. I really don't. You continuing your existence is not propagating that same existence over and over and over again. Where they have to toil, suffer, and die under this bullshit fucking orb we call the sun. For nothing. I'm gonna do that. Even if I did commit suicide, I'd still done it. I still did it. I'm still here. I still had to do it. Doesn't really... I guess I would reduce suffering to an extent by not continuing to live. But I imagine my parents and my siblings and my friends would be pretty upset at that fact that I just up and off myself. And like I said, I'm not a huge consumer of goods, so I don't know how much suffering I actually would reduce. I'm wearing fucking old ass clothes, all that shit. I have for a while, just because I don't like spending money. But, I don't know, maybe I should be a pro-mortalist too. I don't know. Maybe I'm being unethical here, but I just don't see how it would work out. I think that's really definitely more of a personal choice for someone to commit suicide. And I would argue that it's not a personal choice for someone to procreate because you're making a decision for someone else. Jeez. Who's going to have to basically die anyways. No, not basically. They're going to die anyways. So, what exactly does being pro-natalist accomplish here? Nothing. You just added to the death toll on this planet. Even if we all said, you know what? Suicide makes sense. Let's all kill ourselves. Like, you really got no case here for why we should continue having kids, considering what you just said in this video. Where you understand that your existence costs something, and that it costs the existence of other life forms in order to continue yours. So why would I make a machine that's going to keep consuming shit? I got to consume stuff to live, sure. But why would I make another machine on top of it? Am I going to? A machine that feels pain too, by the way.
Yeah, basically the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, and most of...
Okay, well, I guess that's it. So, yeah, that's that. Nothing really to be learned here. I guess I didn't realize the number one argument against antinatalism was kill yourself, but here we are. Oh. I really wish he would have just come out and say it. I would have a lot more respect for him, I guess. Not that he really probably cares if I respect him or not, but I guess I do respect Ethan. He does seem pretty intelligent, and he does have some really good clickbaity videos for me to click on. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have clicked on this one because I'm like, I don't feel like, picking on Ethan too much. This is Ethan Bishop with the number one argument against antinatalism. All right. Just popped up in my feed. But, me killing myself doesn't necessarily help promote antinatalism in any way. But even if every antinatalist killed themselves, like I've said before, it's coming back. It'll come back at some point, maybe in your lifetime. When you're 80 years old, you're fucking scrolling through your fucking virtual reality screen. You're like, oh, I defeated them pesky antinatalists. My argument defeated them soundly. They all shot themselves in the head, or, there was a ton of... they had to pull out the bulldozers to clean up the freeways. Shit like that. I defeated antinatalism. It'll be back. This is not a new philosophy by any stretch of the imagination. It is as old as probably philosophy itself, which is the question is, not necessarily, I guess, if life is worth living, but is life worth propagating? And I guess it kind of ties into whether life is worth living. And I gotta say, for the amount of pain I've encountered, for what little gain I've got, so far, not really. I've had my up moments and down moments, but I also understand that I'm a machine that is meant to do this. Just full stop. So I'm not going to start that process with somebody else to where they have to sit through these fucking, ethical pickles and just be like, oh, fuck. I was brought here. My existence causes suffering. Shit. And I'm going to suffer and die too. Fuck. So I'm not going to do that to somebody else. Just pure and simple. But anyways, I think that's that. So, I guess, thanks for listening and have a good one.